Our first order of business would be the approval of minutes of our regular call meeting of March 13th, as well as the call meeting that we had on March 27th of 2014. I think you all have received copies of those. If there were no errors or corrections that need to be made, I would entertain a motion they be accepted as presented.
Make a motion that we both be accepted as presented.
We have a second on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to our financial report, Tom.
Okay, if you'll turn to the financial section of your book and go over 2 pages to the bottom, it says page 18. This is the financial results for the month of March. And you can see in the middle of the page, net ordinary income. We are favorable to the budget by $191.57, basically a break even. And then come down to the last line item, net income. This is after the non-operating income. We are $2,237.08 favorable to the budget. And then if you'll flip over 2 more pages to page 20. These are the year-to-date summary numbers. The net ordinary income in the middle of the page is $2,956.72, unfavorable to budget. But if you'll remember, at our last month's meeting, we mentioned that that was group insurance, and that will catch up over the year's period of time. And then the last line item, after non-operating income, we are favorable to the budget by $32,314.24. Basically, Mr. Chairman, that's it. There was nothing unusual during the month in the budget at all.
Any questions or comments for Tom regarding the financial report? Do we have a motion to accept it as presented? Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Moving into committee reports, any activity out of investment committee, David?
Yeah, Alton has one. We had one CD that recently matured, actually matured the first part of this month. Will officially show up in the next month's statement, but new interest rate is .0026.
That's pretty close to zero.
Yeah, that's getting closer to the absolute zero.
We just want to thank the banks for not charging us to hold on.
Community line.
Must be
First National.
Oh, bank jokes. Let's see, long-range planning, Dave.
No report.
Walsh Cliff, any activity out of the industrial park committee?
No report today.
All right. And Chipper's not with us today. I don't know of anything in the area of transportation to report, so we'll move into David's executive director's report.
Yeah. A couple of things. One regarding the lakes at Green Valley. The state has developed a program called GRAD, G-R-A-D. It's Georgia Ready for Accelerated Development. They are certifying industrial sites around the state, and they're now developing, and they have a state committee put together to do this, and I've been appointed to that committee in which they're certifying the sites. They will be developing like a map of Georgia with all the sites, and it'll be an interactive map where somebody happens to be surfing, looking at Georgia sites, and they were to see a site, you could touch it and it will give you all the information about that site. Yes, all sites in Georgia are in a database with the state, with Georgia Power, MEAG, and Georgia EMC. This would be a little bit different marketing approach. And it does cost a community to have their sites certified, and we'll be going through, we have a line item, marketing, we'll be going through the application. Basically, we complete the application and then we send it to a consultant that's selected by the state, and they look at this and then it'll be certified. Just to show you how we have been doing with our sites, we have already completed every single one of the 13 except for one. So we have already done all the work. Still cost you to apply, and we're doing the other little survey of the site now. So we'll have that one completed. So we have already sort of ahead of the state, but we want to get the lakes at Green Valley certified, and we'll be going through that. The University Food Technology Center, just a brief update. We mentioned they have funded a director's position for the center, and they have 3 finalists for that position, 3 extremely strong candidates. Realizing I'm on the interview committee, but I'm choosing not to get involved too much with that part of it. I'm used to reading probably most of your resumes. Academicians' resumes look a little bit different, and they're a little bit longer, but there are 3 really, really strong people. And actually, so we'll see how that comes out, and so that's really exciting.
Are they gonna have to live in Griffin?
Nope.
Should be required.
And pretty much over the next couple of months, they'll be picking a finalist. But they are very, very strong candidates. The state of Georgia has one of the largest logistics summits in the country. They have it every year, and I just attended that one. They have it in Atlanta. It's usually a 2-day period. Just a reminder for new authority members, you have to have 8 hours of training within your first year. Excuse me. And we received a total of, you probably noticed it in the financial statements, of $4,000 to rectify movie for using the parkway out at the lakes. One thing we do need to vote on today, Project Growth, which is 1888 Mills, is moving towards the bond closing, and we are applying for an EIP grant on behalf of the city to use for a lift station, an amount of $500,000. We've already voted previously to apply for the EIP grant. We need to vote for a resolution as a board supporting the project. A copy of the resolution is in your other section in the very back. It just basically says we support this project and support the EIP grant, but we do need to officially vote on that today. You'll see a letter first. Behind the letter will be the application
It reads,
resolution.
QSDA commitment/support resolution. If we could have a motion to approve that resolution and authorize execution,
And to officially hire the grant writers,
and to officially hire the grant writer.
Put that in the form of a motion.
which 1888 is paying for.
I put that in the form of a motion that we do all of the stated info Chuck just laid out.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
A couple of project info. One, I think we mentioned before, we had a project started over 2 years ago that put the project on hold. It is back up and running. Excuse me, and they are coming back on April the 16th for what they are calling a negotiation meeting. So we're very excited about that particular project. And the one project that we're very strong about closing here in the next several weeks, visited again on April the 21st. And as we mentioned, this project would also transfer their headquarters component down here along with manufacturing. And they had some of their headquarters staff here during that 21st meeting. One of the 2 new projects we announced last meeting for the lakes We are now a finalist for Georgia. There are 3 sites in Georgia, don't know how many other states. And we have been sent the RFI, request for information, which we'll complete, which basically talks about incentives, more or less. And then we hope we can get another site visit from that. Another new project we mentioned at last month's meeting is coming on April the 17th, the day after the other one. And we'll actually, this one is food related, and they're bringing, it's an international company, and they're bringing their second in command down to really look at the site and look at the community. So that one also is potentially very strong. And we mentioned, long-range planning mentioned last month's meeting about someone interested in buying all of the park. We're still working with those folks on some other alternatives now, so we'll let you know if anything comes of that. And the last thing you may have seen, if you get Georgia Trend, ACCG, which is the county association, they belong, Spalding County belongs to ACCG as well as other counties in Georgia. And Spalding County actually asked us if we would like to submit the lakes at Green Valley for ACCG. Was asking a number of counties to submit unique projects. They would pick a handful and they would be in a special edition of Georgia Trend. They selected the lakes. Thank you for the county letting us do that. So there was a nice little article on the lakes at Green Valley in the ACCG publication.
Actually, Georgia Trend publication, and we were one of 9 counties that were chosen out of over 100 applicants.
Yeah, it turned out really well. The
Really
article
did.
had a great photo that we sent, but still it was a great photo. And the other thing in Georgia Trend, the April edition featured Metro South, which is our 6-county marketing group. We had a small mention in that particular issue of Georgia Trend. And also got an email last night from the publisher of Georgia Trend who said he wanted to feature the lakes at Green Valley in an upcoming publication in his publisher's column, which is kind of a big deal. So we'll be getting some information ready to go in for that. Unless you have any questions, that concludes my report.
Real quick was, that article in the ACCG was really good, but was the slant of the eco park, was that part of the development of this? The eco side of it?
Oh, yeah, yes, from the get-go, that was
Okay,
the
from the
objective.
get-go.
Mainly because the land lent itself so that just to its natural
That's-
attributes and topography.
I just think it's a great marketing ploy.
It is, it's a delicate balance, so, you don't want to scare somebody off by them thinking, my goodness, how much more is this gonna cost? So we learned over the last 2 years is how we position that with Prospect, so that it is a positive and not a potential stumbling block.
Yeah, and since we have new board members, it might be good to just point out, it was part of the original plan to have a green park. And as we got into it, as Chuck mentioned, it sort of morphed into an eco park. We worked with Georgia Tech to come up with this. Tech found out there was a name for what we were doing. There were only about 3 others in the country, and they said it's called an eco park. So we changed it to eco. And as part of that, we developed our own eco standards, site development and building construction rating system for companies coming in, green ratings. And Georgia Tech helped us produce that rating system. We're the only development authority that the state knows of that has its own rating system. And it does things like plan for stormwater runoff, it lets you know what kind of light fixtures to use, bathroom fixtures, low flow versus other kind. And even talks about landscaping, encourages you to use drought-resistant plants and trees in your landscape. So a number of things, and you have to score a number of points, 40 out of 60, to actually be approved in there. So it kind of, the eco part is getting us some nods. That's what got us the nod, we think, in the ACCG, and also what Neely Young, or the Trend's focusing on, is the eco part of it, because we're the only one in Georgia with an eco park.
Can you give us the project name on the group that's coming back from 2 years ago? The code name on that project?
It's coming back with a new name, it's coming
Oh,
back as
so-
Project
yeah.
Paramount. I can tell you
It don't matter. It's a new
what the
name.
previous name was, if you want to know, if that would help you recall who it is, but it's coming back as Project Paramount, is that correct, Dave? They've changed, general contractor, therefore, the change of the name of the project.
Of the project that you mentioned, David, a little more background for us. Types, which I mean, you said one was, food related before, it's like, manufacturing, like assembly, or anything, we can get more in the way of,
Yeah,
types
we're-
of jobs.
Yeah, we're,
Economic,
yeah, we're kind of under a little bit of a confidentiality with the new projects. They're all manufacturing except for the headquarters component, and those are all management type jobs. That particular company has a number of locations in the not a number, it has several locations in the United States. They all do different things. And so they had a headquarters in New York, it's actually relocating to Griffin, Georgia. And so the rest of them are manufacturing. It's mostly in the chemical-related business. And then 2 of those are actually food manufacturers or components of food. And another one that's coming back that's also very strong is actually food-related, but it's distribution.
It's real interesting, there's been a couple of common themes in the prospects we've seen. That is a lot of foreign interest, a lot of Japanese interest, even if you get real specific to what foreign means, and also food. And, right, so it's a good time.
And that's what Daoud just said, that'll work well with our UGA project. Actually, one of these, we actually held 2 meetings 2 years ago out on the UGA campus, and they had presentations, and that was one thing that was very, very exciting about the prospect of coming to Griffin. Not only were they interested in the lakes and the logistics and all that other stuff, they were also very interested in the fact they could work with UGA, the food scientists out here.
And we've commended Jerry several times from that visit, because this is a company that's been producing their product since the 1600s or 1400s. See, you gotta figure they kinda know what they're doing, you know, they've been doing it that long. But the scientists out there at UGA, in anticipation of the visit, had done a terrific job of taking their discussion and centering it in their product line and talking about, they really spoke the language to the point that, you know, they were all just enamored with one another and really enjoying the conversation. Some of us that don't know a whole lot about their product were a little less engaged, I guess would be the way to put it. But it was, the UGA folks did a great job on making those people appreciate the value add that is the food product.
And that's another, I know we're kind of belaboring this, but that's another thing about UGA, what Chuck said. We've carried several different types of food manufacturers to them for presentations, and they magically adapt what seems like to be their whole focus towards that one thing while the company is there. It's really been, it's a great relationship that we have with UGA.
Moving on to old business, I had one item under there, and I believe this was last discussed in our call meeting, and that had to do with whether or not it would be appropriate to respond maybe in the form of a letter to the editor with regard to some of the, what we felt was misrepresentation in the article in the Griffin Daily News about the discussions that the authority had had with the city of Griffin on the funding of the expanded sewer capacity at the Potato Creek plant for serving the lakes of Green Valley. just, it seemed after watching that for a couple of days that really didn't have a lot of legs, as they say in the news business, so spoke with David and just decided to kind of let it go as opposed to rehashing it. Unfortunately, it's back up again this morning in today's paper, and a quote from one of our city commissioners, that's either she misunderstood earlier conversations, or the reporter misunderstood it in the way he reported it, but nonetheless, it does somewhat continue, and we'll monitor that. But the reality is, I think we've had some very good consensus discussion with the staff of the city on this issue, and moving towards a very good resolution on that.
So did you send this letter?
That's a whole different subject. That's under new business.
Sorry.
That's under new business. Moving on to new business. Unless we have anything else under old business. First thing I want to bring up under new business is, we talked a lot this morning about the Center for Food Product Innovation and Commercialization at the University of Georgia's Griffin campus. David Lucky was recognized at a recent meeting out there. One of, I believe, I have heard only 3 times this recognition has been awarded in the state by the University of Georgia, and it is an award in exemplary leadership and service, and it was specific to his tenacity, vision, and other wonderful words relative to keeping the food pick alive for roughly 15 years and then bringing it to fruition within the last 12 months on that campus. So congratulations to David for well-deserved recognition on that. Other item under new business, if you'll flip to your other tab, there is a letter. This letter, in actuality, is in response to, unfortunately, a lot of misinformation that is out there in the community, particularly in social media, regarding, I guess, an attempt, if you will, for people to link the Lakes at Green Valley and its present status and its purpose and intents with that of discussion around the airport relocation. And many times I've seen this come up in discussion where people have tried to deflect discussion about the relocation of the airport around the perspective of, well, this is just another build it and they will come project like that empty industrial park out there on Highway 16. Obviously, that's a very overly simplistic understanding of the complexities of what the Lakes at Green Valley is. We all know that this was a very well-planned and logical extension to the existing industrial parks along Arthur Bolton, which are all full. So to label it a build it and they will come project, I think is a bit of an oversimplification. The other thing that gets drug into that discussion is I guess forgetting the fact that I think this authority was very mindful in the placement of that project on the 2008 SPLOST of the fact that the voters, particularly in the eastern part of the county, had not been supportive of seeing industrial development in the Wallace Road area. We listened to their concerns. We listened to their desires to see that industrial development continue along Arthur Bolton, and therefore we went back to them and asked them to vote and support the development of the Lakes at Green Valley, which they did, and the approval of that SPLOST, which was, I believe, came on the tail of 2 earlier failed SPLOST votes. And I think we took away from that we had been responsive to the voters, and particularly that constituency group in that part of the county. Letter goes on to address another common misstatement that is out there, and that is that there's nothing going on at the Lakes at Green Valley. We all know, based upon the amount of prospect discussion we've had simply this morning, that that's not the case. The reality is we've had roughly 40 requests for information related to companies looking to locate into Spalding County during the 24 months that we've been marketing the Lakes of Green Valley. 12 of those became substantive enough that we went to the point of actually being on the ground in the development on multiple occasions with these prospects, did rudimentary engineering of the sites to show how their facility would fit on the site, and progress further in their site selection process. And as David's gone over today, we have 3 right now that are very, what I would consider to be near-term prospects. One of those, which we all know we should be in a position to announce publicly within the next few weeks, and 2 others that I think are a better than 50% shot. But you just, it ain't over till it's over, though, as we know in this business of economic development and recruitment. Another misstatement is that the development out there is only partially complete, therefore not desirable to prospect. We all know, again, the reality out there is that it is true, there is some infrastructure that's not in place, but that was all a part of the original SPLOST proposal, that a portion of that project would be pay-as-you-go, that only a portion of it would be funded from bonding on the front end, and that was the acquisition of the land, the basic construction of streets, and creating pad-ready sites so it would be marketable. And then that other infrastructure such as utilities, signage, landscaping would be completed on a pay-as-you-go basis as we bring residents into the park. And we have been very careful to make sure that we look forward in terms of cash flow coming in from SPLOST collections, as well as existing resources that we've accumulated, as well as projected revenue from land sales, to make sure that the cash flow stream is there to complete that development. And it very much is so. And then the final thing that has come up, again, in the way of misinformation that tends to deflect from the wonderful project that the Lakes is this statement that comes up many times in social media about the presence of the fencing and the gates, and the fact that, again, how could it be marketable? Why is this project being, cloaked under all the secrecy of fences and gates, et cetera, et cetera? The reality is it's purely a security issue, until which time we have our first private property owner out there. At that time, the streets will be dedicated to the county, as every other public roadway is, and it will be subject to control by the sheriff's department at that point, and it will no longer be a security hazard or exposure to the development authority, thus the reason the gates stay up. So,
And Chuck, also those gates, we had problems with dumping, with people taking trash in there and dumping, so that was a problem also.
not in our county, not. So unless I hear some objections, I would like to disseminate this letter to hopefully diffuse some of this confusion and misinformation that's out there, and hopefully help people have a more positive and accurate understanding of where we are today with the Lakes of Green Valley. Any discussion on that item?
Other than, well, Mr. President, I think it's time for having the our board get our information out, along with hopefully make it easier for the elected officials and the administrators, for those that, that will read the paper and all, to get a better understanding of what's going on. Because I can easily see how someone can just leave up a little something here and there and not
motion there. Do we have a second? Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you all. We'll see that that's done. Moving on to our reports from our, community. Bonnie, start with the chamber.
Okay, thank you. Of course, our board meeting's today at 3:30, and once again, issue an invitation to anybody who would like to come, you can welcome center. And we are at the very beginning stages with a long-range planning committee for the chamber, so we'll, as things move along with that, we'll let people know what's going on. We are going to be having, we've changed the name of our lunch and learns to Business in a Nutshell, because there are too many lunch and learns, and thought we'd just go ahead and rebrand ours. And we are going to have one on social media on April the 29th, 11:30 to 1. If you want to bring your lunch and come join us, it's a free program, and we'll be encouraging you to do that. Mayfling is April 26th and 27th. We have a lot of things going on out at City Park that day. Once again, Georgia Tech will be coming down. They'll be doing fun with robotics for the kids, and they did the Nerdy Dirty last year, which drew a big crowd. It was a lot of fun. It's educational and something that they're working with the school system, so we've incorporated that. And I think the folks from Georgia Tech, they're a bunch of big kids. They look forward to it. They have just as much fun doing it too. Last year, I think the first day they had 400 kids make race cars. And so I thought that was huge. Well, there were some adults in there too, because they were all having fun.
They were big kids.
Yeah. And of course, our golf tournament is May 18th, and anybody who's interested in golf, be happy to have you come out and join us.
And Bonnie, you still looking for judges for your car show?
Yeah, Nikki is. So if anybody has a interest in being a judge for the car show, which will be Saturday, the 26th, we'd be happy to have you come out and join us.
I think the only condition is you can't be a member of the, Southern Cruisers
Southern Cruisers
Car
Car
Club,
Club,
because that's
right.
the sanctioning
Yes.
group.
But they always have, and in case the weather is a little bit tentative that day, they don't bring their cars out, it will be Sunday. So, but it will happen. Look forward to it. We appreciate the city and the county always cooperating with us to put that project on. This is our 31st year, and it would not have survived without the help of the city and the county allowing us to be there, and the support we get from them.
Kenny?
Yes, sir. It's budget time in government world. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty busy and stressful, but we'll get there. The airport authority meets Monday night, and that's all I'll say about that. Our city commissioners also approved the resolution in support of the EIP grant. Hopefully, the letter I got from the governor this week in bold print talking about how difficult it is to secure that grant was just a form letter. But it's kind of scary in the paragraph in the middle that's bold and underlined that tells you how competitive that process is. But we feel very confident in our grant writers and are looking forward to working with 1888. Also, at our meeting Tuesday night, the commissioners approved a public-private partnership with Grogan LLC, who plans to develop the property on West Solomon Street that a lot of you may know as the Mankin property. Did I say that right? They're proposing to develop that property, and as you know, there's a fairly good-sized lake in the middle of that property that we're going to develop as a regional stormwater detention area because of some stormwater problems that we have in that whole area there. So we're going to assume responsibility for the lake as a regional stormwater detention facility, and then Grogan LLC will be looking at developing the rest of that property. So very good project we're excited about, and excited about being able to work in the public and private world coming together to make something positive happen.
William? Kim, did you have anything you wanted to add
A
there?
few items.
Okay.
No, April's not here today, but as far as the unemployment in Spalding County, the state's numbers came out a few weeks ago. In December, Spalding County was, unemployment was 9.0, January was 9.2, and February went back down to 8.9. City of Griffin, for the month of March, we had 12 new businesses, 9 jobs, about 145,000 in investment. There was an uptick in single-family development, and there were 50 units sold, which had a value of about 5.5 million. To my knowledge, since I've been here, that's the highest since last August. The aggregate sale has been about 2.6, 2.8, so the single-family sales jumped up significantly in March. Previously, the average home sold was about 79,000. In March, it jumped up to 111. And that's all I have.
All right. County Commissioners had a marathon meeting Monday night. Some of you were in attendance. I wanted to also let you know, please keep the family of Perry Coker in your thoughts and prayers. Perry, former county commissioner, passed away. Funeral was yesterday at Connor Westbury. Let's see, we did the Bain Proctor Award for Volunteerism. Mrs. Brewer got that award. We had 28 folks to speak at the county commission meeting. Enough said about
Seems
that.
like a lot more than that.
Let's see. As you know, there will be a referendum in November on the airport. Mr. Fortune and I are working to see just exactly how that will be worded. The county commissioners approved a lot of things at that meeting. We will be working on budget, just like Kenny said, and we weren't able to reinstate the funding for the Good Friday holiday, and we also are finished up our portion of the 2014 SPLOST survey. The city has been, Alvin at the city's been working with Kathy in my office about that, and it'll be an electronic survey. It'll also be paper copies out there. David stole my thunder with the Georgia Trend magazine. Let's see. We've been doing some demolition of substandard housing. We have a total of 11 homes that we're tearing down. 4 of those have already been completed, grassed back, ready to go. We're burning 2 more this week. We're in the East Griffin area now. But we've got 6 in the East Griffin area that we're going to be working over the next 2 or 3 weeks to get those down. There'll be a Healthy Children's Conference and Expo April 17th here. It'll be at UGA Griffin campus. That's sponsored by the Children's Health Care of Atlanta, the Collaborative, the Chamber, lots of folks. Water Authority meets next Wednesday, April the 16th. And several members of the County Board of Commissioners and myself will be attending the ACCG annual conference. This is ACCG's celebration of 100 years, and it's going to be at Savannah this weekend. Other than that, I think that's all, other than thank you for getting your budget in. We're taking it under advisement, and if you've good to hear the news in the lakes at Green Valley.
Well, thank you, Ray. Any other business to come before us? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, we adjourn. Second on that. All in favor, say aye.
Hey, I'm gonna jump in and just.
I tried to follow.
Inspection on the second.